speak of the strength or the philosophy of Ibri, from which they translated the Bible, transliterated, and deliberately left a lot of stuff out, and they killed off the feminine side, because for the popes to rule, they have to kill the nature principle of true religion, because they can't rule. If you understand, that's other people that is translated out of Hebrew, and out of Greek. And it sounds like they said something, they didn't say anything. They're supposed to tell you that translation or transliteration, and that you cannot translate it out of the Hebrew, because all ancient culture is a masculine and feminine principle conjoined as one. And you move one, you just lied. And that's why people don't understand that Bible. Don't mean that they can't get things out of it. And it doesn't mean that they can't get some basic philosophical understanding, but they don't know what it is, which is another reason why these people, even when they're talking about the heat, no one knows the day or the hour and God's going to destroy the world. No, it's not where that came from. It came from them closing the temple if you didn't get there in time. And they've converted it into totally something else. Interesting thing is that all the priests know, all the rabbis know, all the imams know. Again, why they got their degrees, why they got the titles. And while the world is awry, they sit and watch this confusion and profit off of it, and then point at the devil, which is a myth that they made up. That's why Dwali say, in order, to redeem man, he says Moors of North America need to know the higher self and the lower self. Well, if you're going to learn of the higher self and the lower self, and then that grand sheet don't take you to Kabbalah philosophy, then he's not teaching you the keys to how to know yourself. And I'm only telling you these things because these are keys that all priests know. It doesn't matter whether they're Muslim, Jew, Christian. They all know. So it gives them their title. And it's a hard knot, because people keep thinking that because these people are from different houses, that they're dealing with different knowledges. And it's not true. They're dealing with different angles of presenting the knowledge. You understand? And so what it has, they have a bunch of followers who are defending them when actually they're robbing the people. All of them. This is why Dwali referred to them as useless cumberers of society. But of course it's difficult if you present that to people who follow these people, because they will come to their defense. That's why they murdered them. That's why they wanted to murder the Nazarene. People said, "Who do you think you are?" And he came there to rescue them. So they looking at the devil, and it was actually organized religionists that are actually the murderers. Even to this day, even when they talk about the intended assassination of the Nazarene, you'll see the people in them houses keep pointing at this devil that they don't see. That's to keep their eyes off that these organized religionists were real murderers. That they were the real plotters with Rome. They were partners with Rome. And Rome partners with them. So it's sort of like it's a little bit uncomfortable, to be blunt, about what they've really done with the people, because the people themselves are sensitive, Islam says, and defensive of them. And so the very people that are schooling people got on the holy robes. And see, the mystery devil, which you'll never see, he's easy, they're going to kick his butt next Thursday, 2 o'clock, be there, and all that stuff. And the deal, and they the demons. Then you add that to our own demons. Those who don't know the higher self and the lower self. You see? And so I'm giving this as a base, because I already know that, like with Europeans, and then a lot of your Asiatics are threatened by this information. have been putting out counter information because of the time. So I'm countering them, knowing what they're going to do. Right? And we'll take this a little further in the future. And this is why now resh in Hebrew, that resh, you'll see it sort of like that. Looks like a reverse R. Just like the spinal cord. And this is like the medulla. Now in Persia, in ancient Persia, and Peru, that you call India, which is Peru, which is the same culture. This would, the activation of Rish would be Kundalini. In so-called Christianity, and you understand when you talk about Christianity, then you go to your Adam degree. Now, an Adam degree, like a priest knows that the Christian is actually Krishna. You understand? It's a Buddha degree. Now, you already know that reverends ain't going to tell people that because that they lose their power. And all that relates to activating the 7 chakras. You got hundreds, but the 7 major chakras and activating the medulla. And that's just like a stem. And that rish, and this activation of this would represent the activation of what is called the fire in the circle 7. And the fire in the circle 7 is you got two openings here, 2 openings there, 2 here, 1 there, 7 in the circle. And the fire in the head, the activating it with the philosophies and studying the higher self and the lower self, the cause, the logical makeup. This is the reason why Hebrew alphabet is actually anatomical. It actually fits the body. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yahweh forms a man, right? When you write Yahweh in Hebrew, it forms a man.
Yeah. Well, let's express that in a minute. We're gonna go with that. We're gonna express that in a minute. Very important. And this, and like say for instance, like because of the divisions that the leadership has played with the people, they'll act like the different cultures aren't related to your own culture. If you understand, when they absolutely are. And that you need to know that. And this is why it's important to, when you go back into Renaissance, before European colonialism in the Western Hemisphere, that it confuses people who don't know real culture and history. And they say, well, why did the Moors build churches and cathedrals for the Europeans? When they were Hebrew, and the background of the culture beyond the symbolism is the same. And it is the Moors, the ancient Moabites, who founded religion, which is the study of the workings of nature. And so, yeah,
The workings of nature?
yes, that's what cosmology is. And that is religion. And everything else they've been telling people is religion is not religion. Religion is a study of the cause and effect workings of nature, i.e. the zodiac. You understand? And this is the reason why the anatomy, and also when it says, you know, man, know thyself, all right? And so you take a different view when you look at, say, as an example in chapter 5, circle 7, right? And then you deal with the, even in like in the church when they talk about Jesus was a carpenter, right? And then that's the pivot, right? And then you see the square, right? What the priests know, this is what the priests know. You see? Huh? It's exile. It's the law. You understand? So when Masons use our symbol, which is ours, is ancient. Some people who don't know, who think that they, Jews, Christians, Muslims, etc., don't know it belongs to them. So one of the keys to rulership is that they keep the people divided amongst each other by not teaching them the truth of symbolisms, nor their true origins. and also keeping the divisions going on. And that's why they promote belief-isms and keep the people on the level of belief. And if they rise a little bit, they give them some faith, and that's where they lock them. But they already know that all the masters know that that is shunned. It is no different than when you go into the ritual of ablution, when you're going to make salat. The ablution represents, by symbolism, you getting the dirt off of you or coming with a clean mind. But the real ritual is only symbolic of you shedding your beliefs and shedding faith and walking to fruition with one man and Allah one. You see? That's what that really means. That's what the ritual means. But yet that's not what's taught. And the ritual has become the religion. And we've perfected the rituals, and the truth or the science behind them have gone lost except amongst the leadership. And rather than clean the people up, they have them breaking into a whole bunch of sects, even divided against themselves so they can control and live off of them. And the devil is the myth that they've created to keep the people fighting the mystery while they live off the wealth of people in the physical plane, while discouraging the people to recognize that by always referring to spirit realm not being of this world. Meanwhile, they're taking all your stuff now. You understand what I'm saying to you? And they're doing it in the churches, the mosques, and the synagogues to different degrees. They're doing the same thing, and yet all of them. So when our people see somebody say they're Muslim, they think that they don't relate to this. It's a lie. You understand? And when they see somebody that say there's a Jew and he don't relate to the crescent and the star, that's a lie. They do certain things for the public, but in secret they got all 5 symbols: I, self, law, and master. And sincerely, the master seal. And the master seal is, of course, that glyph. When you see that glyph, and that's the master seal with the 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. That's the master seal. And of course, you know in physics and geometry that this is the glyph of the earth, or what is called the mundane cross. Now these things are redundant, but they're important for you to understand, because when you see this, you also recognize Circle 7. So these are 3, 3. So these are 3, 3 in 4 corners. You get 3 and 4 in the circle of 7. But see, that's also, see that? Circle 7. The activation of this. So now, if you're not an adept or a priest, you wouldn't recognize the relationship unless it was taught to you. And that teaching of the symbolism back to the science is what the duty and responsibility of adepts and priests are, to see that the people rise above belief. Because, like for instance in religion, the trinity of the development, just like in education, you know, like say the 3 trinity: reading, writing, arithmetic, 3 R's, but it's still the trinity, or a symbol of the equilateral pyramid as a symbol of civilization on the earth. 3rd rock from the sun, 3 dimensions, Mother, Father, Son, the Holy Trinity, the whole principles on 3s. And so that's why symbolically, when they're raising people in the secret societies, they use symbolically 3 candlelights, 3 candlesticks, if you understand. And the first one representing belief, and its reflection is neophyte, and the second one is faith, and its reflection is scholar, and the 3rd one is fruition, and its reflection is master. And so all your imams, your priests, your high priests, your reverends, your grand sheikhs, your adepts, all have the 3rd light. And when they go to the 3rd light, the 2nd and the 1st light are put out. because it's an essential. So just like if you graduate and you go into university, not that you don't visit your kindergarten teacher and your grade school teacher if you just happen to pass, but it's not in your venue to be going back to elementary school and talking about, I just need to get back here and just refresh myself. Something wrong. You're supposed to have graduated. That's for the children. You know, and when you get to your master's degree, you're supposed to put away your childish things. But if you recognize in dogma, they have kept adults in the first two lights, in belief, in grade school, and basic elementary. Even then, haven't really clarified it to them. And this is where that leaves that gray area where they can create a bunch of confusion, a bunch of misinformation. They can make thrones for themselves and divert their corruption on the mystical devil. Of course, nobody ever sees them, but it works. They even raise money to kick his ass. You understand what I'm saying? Allah said it, Jesus said it, Prophet Muhammad said it, and it works. Meanwhile, the people, they working their butt off to kick the mystery devil's butt, right? And all these heads is walking in silk robes or nice suits close to Armani, if it's Lane Armani. Nice pieces, parishes, or nice pearl houses, stuff like that. And the devil did it, and it's been working. You know, and now once a true teacher reveals the secrets, because that's why they give them the titles. The titles belong to the people. Always belong to the people. This is the reason why you see a lot of people get uncomfortable if somebody reads chapter 29 of the Quran, at least amongst the leadership. You understand what I'm saying to you? Because it lets the people know that the sovereign power that's used by them belongs to the people. Yes, because that comes from Muslim law. This is the reason why they're upset with Obama when he signed the rights of indigenous people. And before then, he went to, he cooked up to Egypt and told the world that the United States Constitution came from Muslim law. Meanwhile, Michelle goes to the Alhambra, stronghold of the Moors. You know what signals that's sent to Europeans. That's why no matter what they say, them Europeans say he Muslim. But they're not talking ritual. They're talking the real politics. Ain't nothing he can say because they already know. And plus, he's a constitutional lawyer. They pissed off his hat with him. See, because under the U.S. democracy, corporations have been living a socialist system while the people have been paying the bills. Here come Obama with this healthcare thing, take that socialist system that has been unconstitutional and convert it to help the people. They're pissed. It's unconstitutional, yes, but it was spotted to help the people, which means the corporations would lost a lot of finance. They would have had to convert a lot of finance they've been raping the people for all these generations and actually give the people help and not be able to deny them. And if they didn't have any money, they still have to give it to them. You know, so when you're looking at the politics, you got to really understand the reality of the politics to understand the Europeans' responses to Barack Obama. And it doesn't mean that that healthcare system of imposed contract is correct. It's not. It's not constitutional. It isn't. If you understand, but the problem has been the thing that got this country into the shape is that they've been operating unconstitutionally. It's just been one-sided, if you get the point. But again, the corruption of religion with dogma, or the substituting of religion with dogma, has plied or prepared the people for that corruption that they're suffering from, which is totally all connected. And so people don't recognize it as being corrected. This is also why it's important for people to understand that the 501c3 tax exempt status that quote unquote religious organizations use is because they're really not religious organizations. I want to make myself very clear. The 501c3 tax-exempt status used by religious organizations is used because they're not really religious organizations. They're private businesses working for the Jesuits. Because true, and this is very clear, you must understand this, true religious organization does not require a 501c3 for tax-exempt status. Their status holds that the tax doesn't apply, period. But the 501c3 is an agreement with the Jesuits of Rome not to rock the boat with the politics that's thoroughly corrupt. Because that and the church is connected. If you get the whole point. And so, you can understand again, we're not justifying that, but you can understand again the compromission that a lot of these priests, rabbis, reverends all have that goes unspoken. Is because they're working for the Jesuits and they don't want people to know that. Because blind faith is key for the people to keep giving up their finance supporting these institutions that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. Islam.
I-D-R-H-I.
Hebrew. That's what you call Hebrew. That's what they say, Hebrew or Jew. That's us.
So we're not Hebrew.
Well, you can, yes,
Say Hebrew.
yes.
But Jew comes out of Hebrew.
And so does Hebrew and Jew. You know, this again, when you see in the heliotext when it says, you know, those claim to be Jews but are not Jews, well, that's true. At the same time, Jew ain't Jewish because there ain't no J in Hebrew. You understand what I'm saying to you? But Adams all know that. Adams all know that. I mean, it's. Let me put it another way. If we're all sitting here, we're Adams, like say for instance, Nabi's rabbi, right? And she's a sheikh. He's a shakun. He's a PhD. He's a grand sheikh. You're a sheikhess. We do our work with the groups that we deal with. Together here in a closed house, we got the same knowledge. And we already know the relationship between the different symbols. We already know that this. Y'all got this? We'll show you an example. This. Dream catcher. As those of you know a little bit of your tribal culture here with Hebrew, with Cherokee, Blackfoot, etc. Dream catcher. This. 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 All the same thing. Now, all rulers know this. We understand this. All heads of industry know this. All potentates in secret societies know this. All adepts know this. All grand sheikhs know this. All imams know this. All high priests know this. All shakams know this. But the followers are not to know this. Because you can't control them. If they know the truth, they'd be free from you. Are we clear? So now let's talk about the workings of this, right? Right? So, now keep this in mind. This symbol has a name. It's called the Coptic cross, isn't it? Huh? So where did Coptic cross from? Coptic cross. Here you go. That's where it comes from. What's it? Kupta. Misraim, that you call Egypt. Now you see why they say the old Ethiopians have this cross. That's what it, and then the first Christian adoption. This is so. This symbol would be on your earliest churches, and this would be called the circle. This would be called the circle. Now remember, as we opened up, I'm showing you relationships. All right. What is the name of circle in German? Old High German. Say it.
Church.
Yes. Church. That's what church means. So now would the reverends tell them that church means circle? Because they'd have to tell them some more, wouldn't they? And I'm only telling you that to give you some insight on what you'd be thinking that these sheiks and these Christian minds trace themselves. Therefore, you must know your will. So the believers don't see the wheel here. They 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 don't see the making of the wheel with the compass. And they don't see the crossing with the square. But yet they're carpenter's tools. And yet behind them all is geometry and math. You see what I'm saying? But then that geometry and math is related to the body, the anatomy of the body, which is also why I left Rush there. Because there's a whole philosophy just in this letter that's to be taught. That is the activation of that fire that's in the circle 7 in the head. It's like an ember. And the activation of that brings about the higher consciousness that is called the ascension. Which is why you're given Kabbalistic instruction to know yourself. And all of the instructions that the one they call Jesus gave are all Kabbalistic instructions. Which is why he reached the Christ degree. Do you understand? And so once you understand that and know that, being Muslim and being Hebrew, you're not contentious to that because you know that's your culture. But if you're in the clubism, you would separate from that because you think it has nothing to do with you. Which is the design for the divisionism. This is where your secularism comes in. And so all of these rulers can rule over people, keep them fighting against each other. While they themselves have the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And so long as they can point to the mystery of the devil, they can rule. And that's what's been going on. That's what makes the Moorish Divine National Movement unpopular with leadership. Not necessarily with people, with the leadership. This is why they keep confusion going on, particularly amongst adepts, some of them who are working for J. Edgar Hoover. Do you understand? And so like somebody looking from the outside, they see what they think is division. and it is, but it ain't what they really think it is that some people don't want these people raised. You understand what I'm saying? And the few that do don't usually get rich. You understand what I'm saying to you? And if they give the information, what it does, it frees people from that. And so therefore they're a threat. This is the reason why they will attack the character. They do the character assassination, then they take the body. You understand? And this is also symbolically why it would have been wiser, for instance, if you can also look at that compass. It'd been wiser if that 33-degree Mason is still signifying about the mountaintop, but it just came out and told the truth.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? When the threat was signaled. But vanity and concern for one's ego, you know, it's costly. The ego is costly because the true spiritual development, you slay the ego. You see? Now, so if someone is given those degrees, they already know those rules anyway. And they would decide whether or not do they love the people. Are they really trying to help the people, or are they trying to help themselves at the expense of the people, which is what our problem is, what it has been. And so people have been given a lot of symbols and never really explained to them. See, because when you tell them the truth about it, what happens is it makes them equal to the masters. And then many of them already have what you call activated pineal, and they go further and do greater works than the master who teaches them. But that's what's supposed to be done. Because the titles belong to the people and the people alone. You know, and so what has happened is that they've made a whole business of this whole thing. This is the reason why the Nazarene went and turned over the tables of the money changers. The same principle exists and exists now. Same argument. You know, so if you understand those things, you would have graduated from them long ago and have been long ago using your carpenter's tools, as in chapter 5, the workshop of the mind, character building, which is really what religion is, and not all that ritual. All the ritual is only symbols of the actual workings of activating wish, as usual. Get the point. When that is understood, it ain't complex. You understand? Then you can take the Bible, take the Quran, take the Vedas, take philosophy, the Hexatar, right on, brothers? Hexatar, and you take all those books and understand them. Now the deal is when you get the philosophy, and you get the philosophy, then you're able to work those tools. You understand? Then this is where it talks about where the Nazarene said he came, and then he was administering with Yusuf, and they wrought like carpenters. You understand? Now, the deal of it is that if you're in this degree, you don't reject this degree. Because you got them both. You understand what I'm saying to you? And so with the master, and so is with the master seal. And so if you're in the tribe in Cherokee, when you say dream catcher, the dream symbolizes the etheric world. The catching it is really being capable of interpreting. But then you still got your mundane cross. And so in physics, when you're dealing with physics and architecture, you would deal with that same principle. This is why, like for instance, when you're dealing in politics, they will tell you that no religious test is necessary for anyone to hold any public trust or office. Why? Because the masses get dogma. Do you understand what I'm saying? For control. Do you understand? This is why you see all your leaders put on that show and tell that they're religious. They're not religious. They're religious privately, but what they give to the public is dogma. That's their control mechanism. Now, this is why you can go to the Library of Congress and you'll see all 5 symbols in Islam, right? I, self-law, and master, and that's 360 degrees. But yet, in the secret societies here, they will get to 32 degrees, which is frozen, still frozen. And that honorary degree, which is the 33, then you take the element of water and it begins to flow because it has melted. You've got to understand the symbolism. You understand its elements and it's working it. All right? Now, of course, there's actually more degrees in that, but that's only symbolic in the rituals. But again, when they're in the secret societies, one of the first lessons they'll give them is of Ruth the Moabitess. And of course, Ruth is Yeshua's great-great-great-grandmother. And Moabite is the ancient name for Moors. People with hair like land of wool, skin like burnt grass, olive complexion. But those are codes because they're the founders of civilization. It's also the bloodline of the inheritors of the land. You see, this is why when you go in your early dictionaries prior to 36, when they talk about Americans, they talk about copper-colored people. Or even when the Europeans were creating the aristocracy here, they would do what is called the paper bag test. In the paper bag test, they put the paper bag next to your pin to see if you're really American. But then they later on call it, if you black type thing, it's a brand. Because they're not Americans. You are. You know what I mean? And so the deal of it is that mental disconnection from the land allows them to start mixing, you understand, and that's why they would marry the women. As a matter of fact, that's why Rolf married Potentess Mataoka, and they took her to Gravesend, England, and threw her overboard. Then came back and started the aristocracy in Jamestown, Virginia. And that's the foundation also of the Blue House Masonry for these Europeans. Why they all wear the Moorish fez when they're doing their rituals. Interesting thing is that these rituals have been preserved and they do it all the time. You tell these people that they're Moors, they look at you like you're sick. And the Europeans got their crown. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So again, this is why that pyramid is the most important symbol in Masonry. That pyramid and the fez. Those two symbols are the most important symbols in Masonry on a symbolic level. And then of course you got your York rites and your Scottish rites. So most of the Asiatics that come into Prince Hall, they become under Scottish rites. York rites, mostly Europeans. Now the same knowledge with the different use of it. Now in the houses where Asiatics are, they limit knowledge that's exposed to them. And you'll see a lot of Asiatics go into these different societies and they'll come back out still calling themselves black, which is also why they're considered clandestine. And they go get this heavy knowledge and they come out and still call themselves black. They're fraud. Because they're given the keys. You understand? It's like, you know, it was a big church here, Sullivan, all them guys, all them Masons, 33-year Masons. Jesse, Martin, all of them. They know the truth. You understand what I'm saying? But if you have this conversation with them in the public, they deny it. Or play dumb. While our people are suffering. Having them run around in circles and keeping hope alive. While they wearing $3,000 suits. And the corporation's paying them to keep this fraud going on. And they know it. The problem is that the masses don't know it. because they believe in these people.
You gonna have to catch the 40 years.
And 9 times out of 10, they got some kind of preacher title.
No,
On the other
back
hand,
downtown.
often they're getting paid on both sides. And a 501c3 from the Jesuits. And see, so that's an agreement. And so when they violate that agreement, start speaking against the corruption, then they do what? They restrict or remove their 501c3, then they got to pay taxes. But why do they have to pay taxes? They're a religious organization. Because it's not religion, it's dogma. You see the whole point? Because true religious organizations aren't subject to the tax. You don't need any agreement not to pay the tax. But I'm only giving that to you as keys to give you an insight on how things are really operating around you. And when you see those things, and when you're dealing with different people on different degrees, particularly if you're dealing with issues of contract, mortgages, loans, different issues in law, understand what they know. When they know that you know these things, they treat you a little bit different with respect because they already know that you know better. But when they know that you don't know or they think you don't know, they will play with you and screw you too, happily. And that's how this thing works. So again, when Drawley came and he brought the Circle 7 to the Moors, and he said, these lessons are for those who love Jesus. He says, do not use them wrongfully, use them for good. The reason he's telling you, because those are key lessons that were tailored from the ancient Akashic records. Europeans have it too, but they have it under the Aquarian Gospel. Do you understand? In all their secret societies. Same lessons. They just color them a little bit, but they still got the same lessons. And then, it is to take you out of the darkness or the mystery, and then take you into the knowledge of what's really up. All right? And of course, you already know that adept means expert. And so when you see adept and you see a PhD or Sheikh, Shakun, Rabbi, Imam, they're all PhDs, doctors of philosophy. What is that philosophy? Kabbalah, the Vedas, Book of the Dead, Medu Neter. They all have it. That's what gives them their degrees. But if they were talking to their believers, they never talk on those degrees. They'll talk on your beliefs and your faith. You believe in Allah, you believe in the Lord, you believe in Jesus, and that's the degree they talk to the masses on. Then they collect their finances. While they got all these degrees and must master them. Everything is for graduation, if you understand. This is why even when they graduate from school, right? When you're building character or you're building temples, right? It'll be like this, and there's a stick that goes down like this to the center, and that's called a mortar board. And like when we're building buildings or something like that, we're building buildings like this, and we have a mortar board and we have a trowel, and you take and you butter up your mud, and then you run your mud, lay a line, and drop your brick, and that's called a mortar board, right? When you graduate, this is the nickname for this cat. This cat is a mortar board. Represents Ma and Sun. Isis and Horus. In Christianity, Jesus and Mary, same thing. Ma and Sun, and the philosophy, Kabbalah, behind it, which is what Masonry is. That's Masonry. You understand? Then it's broken into 4 pyramids. Those 4 pyramids are your circle. This is 90 degrees. 90 degrees. 90 degrees. 90 degrees. 360. 100%. Or full circle. So that's the mystery and physics of the circle and the square, which is also symbolized in circumambulation when Muslims make the Hajj, the Kaaba, or make the Hajj and they go counterclockwise around Kaaba 7 times, counterclockwise, 7 times, counterclockwise, circle 7. You see? But it's a ritual. You understand? But yet, the Imams know that the ritual is circle 7 and that the symbol is the science. So they got the people buried 3 degrees back. They perfect the ritual and then don't know the science. And then cutting each other's throat because they broke up all the sects. They know Allah, nobody else don't type thing. Same way the Christians do. They got Jesus, nobody else do. And then they kill each other talking about love and everything that has absolutely nothing to do with spiritual development and absolutely nothing to do with true religion. Has everything to do with corruption. It does everything to do with corruption. And that corruption was promoted by the leadership. And what they have done to the masses, they blame on the devil, which is the myth. Which is also why they're not comfortable with chapter 8 of the 7 sages. And why they don't read that to the people. Why? Why do you see them resisting reading chapter 8 of the circle 7 in the book of the East of the Attic Chamber? Because it lets the people know that the priesthood is dead. They have no more light to offer the people. Meaning that they're useless cumbers on society now. Chapter 8. The council of the 7 of the East. 7 sages. And then you can take that chapter and then before you read that chapter, read your nationality card. Then read that chapter. And it'll give you some insight. But then you must go get that philosophy, and just like they chopped up Horus and scattered them around the world, it is the same principle. And the 5 prophets that Drawley put on your nationality card, you're to do what? Get the foundation of those philosophies, put them back together, just like assembling Horus, the sun. Thus, the eye. That's on the chart. I'm just showing you how these things are connected, and most people don't know it's connected. But if you're not told, you may not look at it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, sir.
But what that would do, that would lead you to the knowledge that would purge you of all the bullshit-dorf that you've been fed that caused you to maintain what you call a child mind. Minds of boys and girls when the rest of the world is dealing with civilization. That's why Drawley says, he says, teach those things necessary to make our people better citizens. You understand? Or where the Bible says, you know, when you come up this knowledge, he says, and you take your childish things and you put them away. Which means you're not supposed to be in a belief degree when you're growing. If you're in a belief degree, something wrong with you. That's like me coming up to you, you know, saying, man, let me tell you, man, I don't care who don't like it. I'm in the 1st grade and the 2nd grade. And I'm all proud and looking for you to be impressed. And confused when you're not. And this is pretty much how, when you see people boasting about their religious beliefs, this is how they do it. But they don't know that that's what they're really saying. And they have this proud self-righteousness about themselves. They're in 1st and 2nd grade. And should have long ago shed that. And then you got these sorcerers standing up there promoting that stuff like they're his proteges, and he's so proud he didn't raise them up and save their souls and everything. All he did is kept them in grade school and been sucking off of them, knowing that they're supposed to be far beyond belief degree. They don't even know if the belief is a degree. They think that's their achievement. And then give them a little bit of faith. They know they've arrived. They're supposed to shed both of them. There's another reason why they don't give them cookies, because it tells them that in faith, belief is lost. And in fruition, faith is lost, which means they just like shells, you get rid of them. I mean, you've outgrown you know how when we was little, they don't do it much anymore. We used to take our shoes, Mom take our shoes, and she'd have them coated in brass and put a picture, you know, and you say they my kicks right there, you know, but you don't go trying to put them on. I mean, it's still nice. I think all brassed up, they kind of nicer than they was when you had them, but you don't go putting them on, and people don't know because the leadership has not told them the trinity of how education is properly exhibited or how dispensed, that it comes in Trinity. And it comes with belief, faith, and fruition. And when you reach fruition, you're supposed, that faith and belief is no longer useful to you. It's useful for the children, you don't get rid of it, but it's not for you, you're an adult. You're supposed to be dealing with knowledge. You know, it's just like, children, like when I was coming down on the train, I was kind of enjoying myself because these three little boys, this sister had three little boys with her, and they was boasting, talking, one of them talking about, he knows all his colors, and the other one is fussing. They know their colors, and they were saying ABCs and everything. Some of it wrong, but I was happy for them because they was working their thing out, you know what I mean? But they're babies, you know what I mean? I don't think none of them was over 5, 6, maybe one of them was about 3. And I was happy for them because I loved just watching them talk to each other, you know what I mean? But now if there was adults and stuff boasting, sitting around, I know all my colors, and, you wouldn't exactly be impressed. And our people really don't understand. That's how the world sees us when we sit around boasting about our religious beliefs. They already know we're sick. The problem is we the only ones that don't know we are. So other people come here from around the world, they already know the truth, even when they come from poor countries. And so they make progress quite quickly. They even go get empty buildings that our people still walk past, don't even know how to handle, don't even know how to take care of any civic business whatsoever. Don't know what taxes apply to them, don't know what taxes don't apply to them. We just screwed. Everybody just sucks off of us. Meanwhile, we so proud and arrogant, we always trying to prove how much belief we got. And they be believing our beliefs right onto the bank. You know what I mean? And go get that building that we've been walking past since we was going to school, and then sell our women their hair. That ain't theirs. But we saved and a whole bunch of other things. Got this self-righteous, arrogant stuff about ourselves. And then you start dealing with us with facts, and we start debating on who we follow. It's interestingly sick. However, it's been working, for opportunists. And I'll say that again, I'll repeat that again, which is the reason why Drew Ali set up the Atom Chamber, to resolve this matter. That's why, like you see on the authority, when you're on authority, also the certificate of he says, they were given those positions to what? To promote the learning of Muhammad. You got to pay attention, even the words that he used. It's a whole different level of degrees, but it's not taught properly. So people think it's, going through ritual religion, the way they think it, they're getting it. But that's the only way you can come at them, because they're spooked. But when you get to the app degree, you already know that stuff is just for people that either weak-minded or just don't know how to count, or just can't deal with reality, or refuse to deal with reality. And thus, in society, when people aren't willing to use their intelligence to solve problems, a yoke is put on them as beasts of burden, and are not treated no different than animals of the field. Of course, they are also trained, because they do have power to have responses, so they're trained that it's racism, and so they run around arguing about racism when actually it's birthright theft. And that has worked too. But again, the atoms were here, were put in place to solve that, to kill that mystery too. But I don't have to tell you that they haven't been doing it. You know what I mean? And so again, This is another reason why I'm presenting this to you, to show you the connectivity, the relativity of all this stuff that you may think. I know most of you don't, because most of you know better, but for some people, not knowing that the relativity of that into the civil realm is absolutely real. And that there is no separation of church and state. That's only for the, you know, that's for the people to believe for control purposes. You know, and those who rule know that too. They know that absolutely. You know, but of course, if they would say that, they may say that sometime making political statements or brownie points, but they will never express that in a manner that makes it absolutely clear to their followers, because then the followers might start looking at them. And then start, how you doing, brother? And then start asking about that 501c3 they got. Yeah,
the 501c3. How does that tie into the symbol?
See, what I'm doing is that I'm bringing in the connection of religion, dogma, and politics, which are all operative, and the need and the necessity for those in political power to know this while they don't speak it. In other words, basically what I'm just simply unfolding is what has been traditionally called the Masonic secret. You understand? And showing the relationship. And the 501c3 is an agreement with the Jesuits of Rome. You understand? Who owns the U.S. Democracy Corporation, which is a substitute for the United States Republic. But knowing that certain people have the mentality of children, that they don't know the difference. Thus, fiat in place of the dollar. Bills of trade, bills of exchange in place of fair trade contract. You understand what I'm saying? Deeds of trust in place of true trade. And it works for adults who have the mentality of boys and girls, which is why they refer to most persons who are they refer to as Negro, Black, and Colored as boys and girls, because their mentality state is just exactly that. But of course, their arrogance and their self-righteousness doesn't allow them to see themselves. But that keeps the system safe. Because they got this self-righteous attitude, they refuse to accept that they're ignorant. That the problem is, ain't them, everybody else don't know that they're saved. That's what the problem is, in their mind. And in the world, everybody else running to the bank. Do you understand what I'm saying? In the real world, while they sitting around talking about how saved they are and they know Jesus and Allah and nobody else do, and the Prophet Muhammad, they make salat and nobody else do, people come from business stand and go get a building that's empty since we was going to school and sell them their hair and their toilet paper next week. And not burdened with Negro taxes. That these people don't even know that they got Negro taxes. They don't even know that they're paying Negro taxes. Why? Because they saved, they got Jesus. You can't tell them that. They free. And you can't even tell them because they'll fight you. So a civilized person coming from a nation is not going to sit there and argue with these people when they keep selling out their own people anyway. And if somebody come tell the truth, they'll sell them out to Rome anyway and then put their pictures up and talk about how great they was, like Ali, Malcolm X, Jesus, the whole line of them. They worship dead people. They don't deal with reality. Now, that's what the real world knows about us. However, you know that we don't see the world seeing us that way. We got this arrogance. See, we're the strong black man with big wieners, and everybody's scared of us. They don't want the black man to know himself. They laughing all the way to the bank. You know, all the way to the bank. Every week, weekly, including with their overseers that's sitting in the houses of God. They don't even know God's a doing, not a being. So it's almost like you know. It's why it's like civilized people come to this country, even people that don't know the language. 2 minutes with our people and they get the idea that we don't want nothing. And it's not really true. is that we don't know ourselves. We don't know the reality of how this thing runs. And you can't tell us because we got this self-righteousness that we were taught. You know, this idea that we're saved and no one else is. God made us and they ain't in the Lord and everything but reality. And so that keeps the rulers safe. Our arrogance keeps wisdom away. It does. Because when you present it to us, we shut down. Because it doesn't fit our beliefs. The Ankh, give you the cake. Now the Ankh is across too. That's a uterus, fallopian tubes, birth canal, the matriarchy nature of civilization itself, the matriarchy nature of life, of this universe, of this earth, symbol of rulership on the planet. But because the Asiatics start following after the idol god worship systems of Rome, they want to deny the matriarchy principle in the relationship between Aleph and Bet. Back to even being able to accentuate Resh. Therefore, when the Asiatics get into what they call Afrocentric culture, they go into it with a patriarchal mind, which is in violation of divine laws of nature, which means it can't work for us because of our arrogance. Because they want to use the word or the password Jesus to worship the popes of Rome and act like that ain't really what they're doing. And they don't want people to pull them to the table and tell them that they're really worshiping Rome, and we know they're worshiping Rome. And they are in thorough and total dishonor of their mothers and fathers, pretending to be black when they know they're of Moabite blood. That's what the problem is. But they want birthright. They want the benefit of the birthright, but they don't want to honor their mothers and fathers. But the rest of the civilized world don't come here calling human beings crayons. When people think people with crayons is people with mentality of boys and girls wearing deep pens. And then wonder why the civilized world rejects them. And accuse the civilized world of racism when there's only one race on the planet, called the human race, that's broken up into nationalities. But they don't want to honor their mothers and fathers, they want to be black. That's why they got the black codes. Then they accuse the world of taking advantage of them when actually they're violating the law themselves. And it's just like, you know, we playing football, right? I smack you upside the head with my helmet. Then the ref comes in there and he calls foul, but you get pissed and you smack me back. Now we both out the game. That's the same principle. You get the point? And so our people keep thinking that they can call themselves names that they are not, but get the rights of humanity. They can only be listed under the 14th Amendment as Christian property in Delaware, as private foreign corporations doing business on the land that makes them taxable and licensed, the rights of indigenous people. I mean, what else can he do? What's he supposed to do? Lay himself on the table for them to slay him as some kind of slaughtered lamb? For these Negroes that don't want to be themselves? You see the point? And in all the law, it says what? In Part 1, Article 5, people have the right to their nationality. And in the Charter, it says this information is supposed to be distributed by the churches, all non-governmental organizations, all civic groups. Are they telling these people about nationality? Nope. They're watching them roast Obama every opportunity they get. And then trying to act like we need to do more for them. And he signed the rights of indigenous people, backing up everything Noble Raleigh said. And as a matter of fact, it's so obvious that anybody that knows law recognizes immediately why the European keep calling him Muslim, no matter how many times he say he's Christian. Because the European's looking at it from politics. He ain't looking at somebody's emotions. He knows the real politics of his land. You understand? The problem of it is we keep trying to be Negroes. You understand? And so when we look at Hex Alpha, Crescent and the Star, Master Seal, Seal Pyramid, they're all ours. And when we start separating them, then we get lost in the game. That's why whenever they're in the secret societies, they get all of it. Because that's what makes them rule. That's what gives them their power. You understand? And so for the masses, they got to keep you divided against each other. So that you can think that don't belong to you when it does. You understand? And the one here think this don't belong to them when it does. You understand? The one here think that don't belong to them when it does. Just because we Cherokee, if you don't know that that's Circle 7, then you don't know the culture. You understand what I'm saying to you? And when you're doing the ritual of the Hajj, if you don't know that Circle 7, then you don't know the culture. See, so what's happened is that the people are caught up in the perfection of rituals, and the rulers are caught up in the perfection of Kabbalah, the knowledge. So they rule, the dummies pay the bills. You understand? And then when they wake up a little bit, they just make a new sect and have them cutting each other's throats, talking about how much they love Allah and Jesus. You understand what I'm saying to you? And this is how it's worked. And so when you look at the surface, you'll see it's like, say, the Saudis, right? Now they Muslim, right? And then you see them, there's Christians over here, they talking trash and everything, right? And in secret, they're all part of a brotherhood. And the masses cutting each other's throats. Meanwhile, they're making deals with these Europeans who's the jinn, oil, and they living on our land, working off our birthright. And we be thinking they got different beliefs. That's for the surface. That's for the dummies, the bill payers, the war fodder. In other words, they're the fodder for the war. You understand? Do you know that the Klan's charter book is Quran? How many people knew that? You daggone right this. And if you ever see their uniform, excuse it, it's like an iron cross though. It's still circumcised. But on the surface, there's a political fight going on. But in the philosophies, they got the same thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? The issue is who rules and who gets the benefit. You get the point. The resource benefit. You understand? So like, I want a tassel for my fez. My tassel start unraveling, right? Do I go down to the mosque or the temple to get it? I'll go do some Yiddish Jew and he'll give me my Moorish fez. Because he got one too, secretly. Because that's what rules the planet. You want to order? Go get your fez. You want to get into your spiritual colors? Some Yiddish claim to be a Jew that's not a Jew, sell it to you. You understand constitutional law? Go to Alexandria, Virginia. And go look at George Washington's Compass and Square and his fez and his apron with the eye of Allah on it. Same thing with Jefferson, Ben Franklin, John Adams, the whole crew. And that Constitution is Muslim law. I mean, if you understand these things, you understand the politics. If you don't understand these things, you don't know the politics, because your concepts will always be wrong. Usually blinded by your own biases that were created to keep you in check.